Hello, and welcome to my review of Data versus Democracy by Chris Shaffer. This is an interesting but also frustrating book on the issues surrounding information on the web and social media specifically. I need to split the verdict into two different sections though, because one is positive, one is a bit negative. And it's because the book is written in two different sections essentially. The first portion is dedicated to an overview of the subject of propaganda, with the second section consisting mainly of case study examples. So I'll start with the positive. The first section is interesting and informative. Mr. Sheffer does some solid analysis on the subjects of attention and media consumption in today's world. There's just so much people can pay attention to at any one time, but the amount of available information has skyrocketed into infinity. He points out that our instincts for determining reality, for parsing safety from danger, are not adopted to the media environment in which we live. This is really a spot-on take. This overload causes a battle for our attention. This, you can see, is correct every day on your own. Just take a second and notice the efforts people are taking in order to get your attention and keep it. This also feeds the motivation to get people addicted to certain platforms and media. I don't think anyone can deny this phenomenon at this point. There's very little to disagree with in his points on propaganda and attention issues. It is important for people to understand that these things are going on behind the scenes. It's almost impossible to avoid being pulled in to certain propaganda entirely, but you could certainly become more aware of it and see it when it's happening to you. So the first section is good, and I enjoyed the analysis. But my issues kind of are more concerned with the obvious political bias of the author. Maybe I should expect it given the title concerns democracy and voting and political issues. But also given that the premise is on propaganda and attention and information, you might expect a more objective analysis, because the book actually is in danger of becoming its own propaganda piece for his viewpoint. All the case studies are targeted at right-wing or white supremacist examples. I started to count the number of times he mentions right-wing or alt-right, which one of the case studies concerns the so-called alt-right, which there is no definition on that exactly, but I lost count around 10. So this started to give me a dejected feeling towards his case studies. A more balanced approach could have made a better impact, I think. Certainly there are plenty of examples of left-wing propaganda that could have been mentioned. Also, many issues of propaganda are not directly tied to the political left-right spectrum. Cultural issues like transgender movements, class warfare, anti-capitalism, pro-capitalism are common on social media. There is plenty of truth in his observation of the Russian disinformation campaigns, especially the part about discrediting elections after what happened in 2020. I think we can all agree that there's things happening that are causing that. I've always been more concerned about Soviet communist influences, though. But besides that, the book is over the right target when addressing propaganda and psychological subversion. These subjects need to be discussed and made more widely known, but the author goes to great effort to inject his political and cultural opinions that have no real application to the subject, in my opinion. There are long rants against the alt-right or Donald Trump at the 2016 election, which I understand it has issues with propaganda, but there's just a lot of ranting, and he gives some commentary on gender roles that I think are questionable. But overall, the book has valuable discussion on propaganda and attention. There are insights into the political dimension of the subject. I just wish there was a more balanced approach and political biases were not so obvious. Thank you for watching my review of Data versus Democracy.